The flashbulbs popped. The champagne flowed. A table shared with rock royalty. It was supposed to be the perfect night for a group of girls on the cusp of defining a decade. But in the shadows of the parking lot, tempers flared, and two words were spoken that almost shattered the biggest girl group in history before they had even peaked.
Oof, yeah.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
It's going to be a wild one today.
It really is. I mean, that was the cinematic version of 1996. But today, we are stepping out of the spotlight and into the unbelievable pressure cooker environment of the 1990s music industry.
Yeah, we are looking at the Spice Girls. But, not the glossy platform sneaker, girl power version of the story that was sold on lunchboxes and posters.
Right, not the marketed version.
Exactly. We are examining the intense and honestly often terrifying psychological reality behind the scenes.
Today's deep dive pulls from an incredible stack of sources. We've got extensive reports from The Guardian, Yardbarker, Healthing.ca, and Melanie Chisholm's Mel C's own 2022 autobiography, Who I Am.
Which is such a revealing book.
It's amazing. And our mission is to explore how a single, seemingly trivial argument nearly altered music history. We are going to look at how the facade of pop glamour masked a very dark, very real battle with mental health and toxic industry standards.
Yeah, it is fundamentally a story about the cost of projecting absolute invincibility when you're actually falling apart behind closed doors.
So true.
And to really understand the weight of this, we need to set the scene. So the year is 1996. The event is the BRIT Awards.
Right. And for anyone familiar with music history, you know that the Spice Girls' monster hit, Wannabe, didn't actually drop until July of 1996.
Right. So at this point in the year, they haven't achieved that global domination yet.
No, but the industry buzz around them is just absolutely deafening.
Completely. They are the next big thing, and everyone in London knows it.
Yeah. According to the reporting from Yardbarker, the night of the Brits is incredibly joyous for them. I mean, they are celebrating, they are drinking champagne.
Really did up.
Literally rubbing elbows at a table with Lenny Kravitz.
Right.
You can just imagine the high they are riding.
Oh, totally.
They're young, and they're on the precipice of their wildest dreams coming true.
But as the night ends and they leave the venue to find their car, that glamorous energy just completely evaporates.
Yeah.
The sources describe it as just chaos and confusion taking over in the parking lot. Everyone is stressed, trying to navigate the crowds, the paparazzi, and just the logistics of getting home.
Which is always a nightmare at those events.
Exactly. And in a momentary flash of frustration, Mel C snaps. She turns to Victoria Beckham and just tells him to F off.
Just a quick, sharp insult, like the kind of thing friends say to each other when they are tired, cranky, and just want to go to sleep.
Right. Just a throwaway comment.
But the fallout from those two words is nuclear.
Oh, absolutely nuclear.
The next morning, the reality of that outburst sets in. Mel C wakes up, and she is confronted by her bandmates. Mel B and Geri Halliwell express absolute disgust at her behavior.
Which is fascinating when you think about their public brand. We think of the Spice Girls as this loud, rebellious, rule-breaking entity that just did whatever they wanted.
Yeah, the ultimate rule breakers.
But internally, the policing of each other's behavior in that moment was severe.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the bandmates. The group's management gets involved and issues a terrifying ultimatum to Mel C.
Wait, what did they say?
They told her if an incident like this ever happens again, she will be kicked out of the band entirely.
Okay, let me stop you right there, because I am trying to wrap my head around the severity of that threat. Let's really look at the timeline here.
Yeah, I bet.
This is just months before Wannabe sells millions of copies worldwide and tops the charts in, 37 countries. To put this in modern terms, this is like a startup founder being threatened with a complete ouster by the board of directors the very night before a billion-dollar IPO.
Wow. That is exactly what it is.
Right. You have been working in the trenches for years, you survived the early days, the money and the fame are right there, and suddenly you are told you are entirely disposable over a momentary spat.
Yeah.
What does that level of fear do to a person's psyche?
It creates a profound psychological shock. You have to feel deep empathy for the emotional weight that places on a 20-something girl.
Seriously.
She wakes up with a champagne hangover to realize a fleeting insult might cost her a lifelong dream. She had trained her whole life for this, attending dancing college, going to countless auditions,
Yeah, putting in all that work.
and the terror of having the rug pulled out from under her in that specific moment, it fundamentally rewired her psychology.
She actually noted in her book that she felt she had to be incredibly strict with herself after that, just in case she messed it up. She became overly cautious.
Yeah, the fear of making a mistake, the fear of losing her spot, it drove her to seek control in any way she could. And when you feel like you have absolutely no control over your career or your environment, when you realize your dream is entirely conditional on the approval of men in suits, where do you turn?
Wow.
You turn inward.
Yeah.
You turn to your own physical form.
So heavy.
Mel C kept her job, but the fear of losing it triggered a desperate need for control that would quietly destroy her from the inside.
You know, that's not even the wildest part, because the seeds of that destruction had actually been planted even earlier by the very people employed to guide them.
Exactly.
But real quick, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and industry deep dives, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
We really do. So, to understand the genesis of Mel C's eating disorders, we have to rewind slightly to 1994.
Okay, take us back.
The group was still in its infancy, actually going by the name Touch at the time.
Oh, wow, Touch. I forgot about that.
Yeah. They were living together in a house in Maidenhead, rehearsing endlessly, just trying to figure out their identity as a pop act.
We're talking about the dark side of girl power here and just the crushing weight of perfectionism.
Totally.
As reported by healthing.ca, there is a deeply disturbing incident with their manager at the time, Chick Murphy. So Mel C, who is a trained dancer and gymnast.
Right, super athletic.
Exactly. She is demonstrating an athletic round-off backflip for him. And his response to this incredible display of athleticism, he looks at her and says he is surprised she can do backflips with thighs like that.
It is a devastating comment.
Yes, disgusting.
Here's a young woman displaying her strength and talent, and she is immediately reduced to a critical assessment of her body shape by the male authority figure controlling her career.
It's just so toxic.
It is. When a person in a position of extreme power zeroes in on a physical trait like that, it ceases to be a passing comment, and it becomes a mandate.
Right, and she was mortified, just totally humiliated. And terrified of losing her spot in the group, she spirals into an intense restrictive eating disorder. Fat became the enemy. Then carbohydrates became the enemy. She told the Daily Mail that she got to the point where, for a couple of years, she survived predominantly on just fruits and vegetables.
Which is, I mean, we had to combine that starvation diet with the physical reality of being a Spice Girl.
It doesn't make sense.
She was exercising obsessively, executing brutal daily schedules of dance rehearsals, media appearances, and global travel. You can't fuel a high-performance athletic career on celery and apples.
No, you really can't.
The malnutrition became so severe that her period stopped entirely.
Oh, wow. That is amenorrhea, right? The clinical warning sign that the body is shutting down non-essential functions just to keep the heart beating.
Precisely. From a biological standpoint, her body recognized it was in a famine state. It shut down the reproductive system to conserve energy for basic survival.
That is terrifying.
And while her body is quite literally starving, the British tabloid press in the 90s is actively hunting her.
The 90s tabloids were ruthless. They compounded all of this internal agony by labeling her the plain one at the back.
Ugh, horrible.
So she is starving herself to fit this impossible mold, and the media is still telling her she isn't good enough.
What is crucial to understand here is the systemic nature of this toxicity.
Yeah.
Like, Mel C wasn't suffering in a vacuum.
You're right.
That same manager, Chick Murphy, had also told Victoria to lose weight, which triggered Victoria's own highly publicized battle with anorexia, something she detailed in her 2001 memoir.
Yeah, she was very open about that.
And Geri Halliwell, the unofficial leader of the group at the time, later revealed that she relied on bulimia as a coping mechanism against the media's glare. The entire environment was poisoned by these impossible, deeply sexist beauty standards.
Wait, I need to pause you there, because I'm struggling with a massive contradiction here.
Okay, what is it?
The Spice Girls literally invented modern girl power to fight back against sexist 90s record labels who said girl groups couldn't sell. In their early days, they actually fired their original management team, Chris and Bob Herbert, and executed a moonlight flit.
Oh yeah, the famous midnight escape.
Right. Packing their bags in the middle of the night and stealing their own master tapes because they wanted creative control, they defied male gatekeepers to write their own hits. So how on earth does that same fierce, independent group tolerate a manager telling them to stop eating?
It is the ultimate paradox of the music industry.
Yeah.
You have to separate the marketing of girl power from the psychological reality of being a 20-something woman in that era.
Okay, that makes sense.
Firing a manager gave them business control over their music. It did not magically cure them of the deeply ingrained societal conditioning that their worth as female entertainers was entirely tied to their physical size.
That makes the concept of girl power feel like a gilded cage. I mean, did projecting this fierce, untouchable invincibility make it impossible for them to ask for help when they were literally starving behind the scenes?
That is the heart of the tragedy right there. Their brand was built on being fearless and empowered. If you admit you are crumbling under the weight of an eating disorder and clinical depression, you risk shattering the illusion that the entire empire is built upon.
Wow.
Mel C noted that you feel incredibly guilty complaining when your ultimate fairy tale is supposedly coming true. Everyone is telling you how lucky you are.
Right, you're on top of the world.
Exactly. You have #1 hits, you are traveling the world, millions of fans adore you. How do you raise your hand and say, I am miserable and I need a doctor?
The pressure to maintain the fairy tale was literally killing them. They were trapped in a paradox where their public persona demanded strength, but their private reality demanded silence.
Yeah.
And later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming, how the pressure cooker finally exploded, and the ultimate breaking point of the world's biggest band.
Because you can only run on empty for so long while carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Eventually, the cracks in the armor become impossible to hide.
So let's get into that breaking point. The departure that signaled the beginning of the end and the battle for survival.
Yeah, so by the time we hit 1998, the schedule the Spice Girls have maintained is bordering on inhumane. They have written and recorded hits. They filmed a feature-length movie, Spice World, in just 6 weeks.
Which is absurd for a movie production.
Insane. And they are in the middle of a relentless global tour. They are exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The friction within the group, which they had managed to suppress for the sake of the brand, finally hits a critical mass.
In May 1998, shocking the entire world, Geri Halliwell exits the group.
Yeah.
She cites exhaustion and differences within the band. It is an absolute earthquake in pop culture. I remember the news breaking. It felt like the end of an era.
Oh, it was everywhere. And Geri's departure is really the catalyst for the unraveling. The group soldiers on as a four-piece, and they even manage a successful North American tour, but the internal dynamic is fractured.
But it's just not the same.
The magic, that spontaneous, chaotic energy that made them so captivating, is fading. By December 2000, they released their third album, Forever, which sees weaker sales, and they officially enter an indefinite hiatus.
It's right around this time, right as the band is splitting, and that massive structured machine stops running her life, that Mel C's coping mechanisms swing wildly to the opposite extreme.
Yeah.
She develops a severe binge-eating disorder and begins binge drinking, in her own words, to the point of sedation.
This is a very common, very tragic psychological response to prolonged restriction. For years, she had survived on intense, rigid control over her food and her behavior, terrified of stepping out of line since that night at the BRIT Awards.
Right.
When the group goes on hiatus, the structure just vanishes.
When the external machine stops, the internal structure collapses.
Precisely. The pendulum swings. When you deprive a human body of nourishment for years, the biological drive to consume becomes overpowering once the restrictive barrier is lifted.
That makes total biological sense.
Furthermore, she was trying to cope with the immense shame, the loss of her identity as Sporty Spice, and the overwhelming confusion of who she was outside of this global juggernaut.
Yeah, who are you without the band?
Exactly. She was desperately trying to fill an emotional void. In her memoir, she writes about the terror of seeing her appearance change after years of anorexia, which was her biggest fear realizing itself. It is a tragic cycle of self-punishment.
But this rock-bottom moment is also the beginning of her true recovery, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In 2000, she finally hits a wall and seeks professional help. She goes to her general practitioner and is officially diagnosed with clinical depression.
Wow, finally getting a real diagnosis.
Yeah. She starts a course of antidepressants. She enters therapy, which she continues to this day, and she explores alternative treatments like acupuncture.
It is the first time she allows herself to be vulnerable, to take off the Sporty Spice armor, and just be Melanie Chisholm, a human being who needs medical care.
And she credits a lot of her long-term recovery to a major life event in 2009. Becoming a mother fundamentally shifted her perspective.
The birth of her daughter, Scarlett.
Yeah. Motherhood took her focus away from the relentless pursuit of industry validation and body perfection, and reoriented it toward nurturing and protecting another life.
That is beautiful.
It forced her to be kind to herself so she could be a healthy mother to her child. It is a profound shift from seeking external approval to cultivating internal stability.
It really puts their legacy into perspective. You look at the massive scale of their success. We are talking over 85 million records sold globally. Their lasting legacy is built on an undeniable, almost terrifying work ethic.
Absolutely terrifying.
But listening to all of this, the real triumph isn't the record sales or the stadium tours.
No, the real triumph is Mel C's resilience. To go from a terrified 20-year-old starving herself to keep her job, enduring toxic management and a vicious tabloid press, to becoming a mother and a solo artist who can stand on stage at the 2012 Olympics or during their massive 2019 reunion tour as a healthy, empowered woman. That is the definition of strength.
She finally reclaimed her narrative entirely in 2022 by publishing her autobiography, Who I Am. She took all that pain, all the secrets from the Maidenhead house and the parking lots, and she owned them. She took away the tabloid's power to dictate her story.
Surviving the machinery of 90s pop culture and coming out the other side with your sanity and your voice intact. I mean, that is the truest, most authentic definition of girl power.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next as we uncover more of pop culture's biggest secrets. Because as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to think about the deep irony of the Spice Girls' legacy.
It is a massive paradox.
Think about it. They had to rebel against older male managers to write their own songs. They forced the entire entertainment industry to respect female friendships and put women at the absolute center of pop culture.
Yeah, they really did change things.
Yet behind the curtain, they were profoundly scarred by the exact same industry's toxic beauty standards and relentless pressure. They changed the world, but the world nearly broke them in the process.
It forces us to examine our own relationship with the media we consume. We demand perfection from our idols, but we rarely consider the human cost of producing that perfection.
And it makes you wonder how many of today's mega influencers and pop stars are trapped in that exact same paradox right now.
Right.
We see them projecting absolute empowerment, limitless wealth, and perfect lives on TikTok or Instagram. But are they quietly fighting the exact same battles Mel C fought in the shadows of that parking lot 30 years ago? It's a gilded cage, and the bars are just digital now.
It really makes you question every perfect, highly curated image you see on your feed. The medium has changed, but the pressure to be flawless remains exactly the same.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.